my biggest reason for success, I think, is just being on Facebook, just being a kind of like an open book. I want to be known for all of the good qualities that make me a human, and not my sales. That's just like the cherry on top. I have those repeat clients that are still getting me in touch with their friends and family. Just yesterday I was driving and I had a client that I helped about 2.5 years ago, and she goes, "Hey, my parents are ready to move up here. I need your help helping, finding them a house." I feel like the only way we can really have a smooth and easy transaction is when my clients do trust me.
We get to hang out today with Miss Suzanne Powers. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Suzanne, if she looks familiar, was recently featured in an issue of Tampa Bay Real Producers. I believe you were spotlighted as one of our rising stars, right? Was that the section that you were in? Awesome. Suzanne has been licensed. She was licensed for about 5 years when we did this spotlight. So in her first 5 years has become a rising star here in the Tampa Bay market, and we'll dive into your story a little bit. We'll start with your background for people who might not know you as well. You want to try to get close to the mic if you can. There we go. So Suzanne, you're good to go. Suzanne, if you didn't know anything about her story, she was born in Iraq, grew up in Iraq. Well, not nearly grew up, but was there for the first couple of years. So we'll start with that. Do you remember anything about living in those early days in Iraq, or were you too young?
No, I think I was honestly so young. I remember, I have like one image in the back of my mind is like my dad and my mom and me in the car, and like my family, like my aunts, uncles, grandparents trying to throw me a stuffed animal, and they kept throwing it back and forth because we just didn't have space. That's the only thing I remember, oddly enough.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I remember stuff when I went back as like a teenager and things like that. But no, early ages. I just was told I was born in my grandma's living room.
Wow.
Actually, exactly 32 years ago. So.
What, today?
Yeah.
Today's your birthday? Oh, wow. Happy birthday. Congratulations. Didn't even mention that off camera, so we just found that out now.
I forgot, sorry.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And so. Oh, she did. Okay. I was news. They always keep me in the dark. It's funny how that works. So what part of Iraq were you born?
In Baghdad.
You were. Okay. So right in the capital. And I think you were saying that at the age of 2, you guys had to leave. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
We left. We went into Turkey illegally, is what I was told. We got caught at the border. They ended up letting us go.
Do you want to share the story as to why?
I mean, it's a very crazy why, but my mom's side of the family, my mom is Kurdish, and my dad is, like Iraqi Arab. And I mean, Kurdish people I still consider are Iraqi, but they're technically they're a whole different culture and different language and everything. And in Iraq, they're on the northern part of Iraq, so in Kurdistan. And so, I mean, long story short, when Saddam Hussein was in power, I mean, he hated the Kurds. And
did not like them very much.
Tried to annihilate them, and that, it's half my family. So, I mean, my dad was in the army, and things just got a little crazy, and our family was a target.
So your dad was married to a woman who basically Saddam Hussein wanted to annihilate the entire ethnic side of that family, right?
Absolutely.
So that could be a conflict of interest, and he was in the military.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that Saddam asked him to become a captain or something, is that right?
And my dad was like, nope, we're not doing it because, obviously.
Yeah. Do you know if Saddam looked for your dad when he left?
That's what I was told. I was told that they would come to our family's houses and everything and look, and it was a big fear. But thankfully nothing ever happened. But we had to flee, so we went to Turkey illegally.
Yep.
I was told that we got caught at the border, that we were in their Turkish jails, and by some miracle, that they let us go. I was told that I was really, really sick at that time. So I don't know if they just felt bad for us or if there was something else I don't know about. But
somebody was looking out for you, huh?
Yeah. No, thank God. I mean, it worked out the way it was supposed to. So we were there in Iraq, or not in Iraq. We were there in Turkey for a few years. And then we came to the U.S. My dad got a job here as a chemical engineer, and I believe we came over as refugees and been in the U.S. since.
And that was in the late 90s? Is that correct?
1999.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. So you were here with the turn of the new century then, 2000, new millennium, I guess I should say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at 6 years old, I had no idea. But, growing up, I'm like, man, I was there for that? Why wasn't it such a big deal? I don't remember, so.
And I think you said at first you were in Arizona, but not very long, and then you ended up growing up in Ohio?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. We were in Arizona for only 40 days. And all I remember there was everything wanted to kill us. I think there was scorpions or something. And everyone there spoke Spanish too. And, we didn't even know English. So I think my dad spoke very, very minimal English.
Okay. Was your dad's job in Ohio?
Yeah,
Is
so that was the job that he ended up getting. We were there for, our pretty much my whole life growing up. So I was
Gotcha.
there until I graduated high school. So.
Gotcha. Do you remember like learning English pretty quickly in those days, or did it take you a while?
I remember when I got dropped off.
Because you speak really good English now.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like you-
I don't have an accent
Felt like it
or
would
anything.
be normal from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I was dropped off first grade, Roxborough Elementary in Cleveland, Ohio, and I did not know a lick of English. We did not have money at the time, so my mom, I believe, took me from like a public transportation bus to and from school. And the first few days, I came home crying, and my mom ended up going to the school trying to talk to them, but not knowing how to,
Wow.
speak English.
Yeah.
Trying to ask them, why didn't you feed my child? So I'd come home hungry every day, and
Wow.
we didn't know that you had to pay for, language barrier and everything, like coming from a completely different country. And so that was hard. But then my parents also told me, like, within just a couple of weeks, I was speaking fluent English.
Wow.
The sad part is I lost all of my fluent Turkish. I used to speak fluent Turkish, and I don't.
Now you don't remember any of it?
Not even one word.
Wow.
Not even one word. So
Huh, that's amazing. So like something just switched in your brain, huh? And went from I
Yeah.
can speak Turkish to now forget all of it and I'm speaking English now.
exactly.
Wow.
So, crazy.
So you grew up in Ohio, and then at some point you decided to come to Florida. I
Yeah.
think you said that your mom was down here, I guess, at the time, and
Yep.
you came down to Florida, and that's eventually where you met your husband. Now was down here.
Oh yeah. Yep.
How old were you when you came to Florida?
I think I was 21. So I was I finished like one more semester of nursing school down here.
Where'd you go to school?
Down here?
Mhm.
I don't even remember. I think it was like Southern. Well, I went to Gannon University in Pennsylvania. And they
Okay.
were kind of known for like their medical and everything. And then when I came down here, it was really discouraging because I realized most of my credits weren't going to transfer over.
Right.
So I finished at one of the technical colleges in Tampa,
Okay.
got my degree there, and then never ended up going into nursing.
Did you think that you were going to be going into nursing? And
I did. I really
Okay.
did. I specifically wanted to be in labor and delivery. And honestly, when I was doing my clinicals, I was so depressed.
why?
I was, I wanted to start a family and everything. And I don't know. I think they just traumatized me from where they had me. I think they had me out in, was it Crystal River?
Okay.
And for whatever reason, while I was there doing my clinicals, I just saw like the worst of the worst of the worst. And I could not handle babies passing away.
Oh, yeah.
For me, that was just
That would be
not
tough.
something I could do.
That would be
And
tough.
then I realized really quickly, like, okay, when you think about it, labor and delivery, everyone's happy. You're welcoming a new baby into the world.
Yeah,
then
but
you
there's a
don't
dark
really-
side to it. Yeah.
There is, and that part was really depressing. So I
can
couldn't
see
do it.
that.
I have the utmost respect for our healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, CNAs. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I can imagine for sure, and I can see why that can also be disheartening, being exposed to that much heartbreak too at the same
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So, how did you get interested in real estate? How did this whole journey start?
To be completely honest, I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life because I'm like, I need to support my family somehow. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I'm pretty sure I was in so much debt that my credit score was like in the 400s. And I had like not even a penny to my name at the time. So my husband was working full time and he made enough to make ends meet and everything, but there was no extras for like anything extra, you
Yeah.
know? And at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't just sit at home and not do nothing, especially while we're about to have our first child. So looking back at it in Ohio, my mom is actually the one that got into real estate. She started purchasing when the market really dipped down back then. She was able to, put some money together and buy some properties like really low cash and just kind of have that. So that kind of has always interested me. I remember when I was younger, I would go and
So she was an investor.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and she still is.
Okay.
I got a lot of that investment side of real estate from her.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't want to be an investor. That's how I ended up thinking. I'm like, okay, well, what about real estate? And I remember like me and my husband, we purchased our first home. He had a townhouse when we met, and we outgrew that so quickly. We had a zoo. Like, we had so many animals. And
In
I'm
the
like,
townhouse?
in the townhouse,
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
because I also did fostering. So I did fostering since I was like 17. So
Wow.
I started fostering when I moved down here as well. And I think our first year of marriage, I had 12 cats, like 12 kittens, like foster kittens. They weren't mine.
12 kittens
Yeah.
in like a townhouse.
In
That's
a
wild.
Yeah, a 1,300 square foot townhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had his
God
time.
bless
He
your
had his
husband.
time to leave. He had plenty of time to leave. But yeah, no, we had that, and I mean, long story short.
Well,
like,
once you got pregnant, you couldn't leave. I mean, that would be a pretty low move.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But,
Deal with the cats. We got kids to raise now.
Yeah, so he had his chance, but
That's funny.
yeah. I mean, long story short, we had our.
So you didn't know anybody down here that was in real estate necessarily at the time, okay?
Nobody.
And so you just decided, I'm going to take a test, and this could be a path for me.
Yeah, I ended
Okay.
up getting my license. I think when my daughter was 6 months old.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
And that was about it will be almost 6 years ago,
yeah,
right?
in March it'll be 6 years.
Very
When
cool.
I got licensed. Yeah.
And so I know that we've had a couple people on now from your team here with Agile.
Yeah.
And so has that been the team you've been with since the beginning?
I'm not on a team. I'm a solo agent.
Okay, but I'm at the brokerage. So did you connect with
No.
Agile in the early days, or was that more recent?
Yeah, that was about a year and a half ago.
Got it.
I credit Agile to my business kind of.
Taken off.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what was that first year like for you, as it was just trying to like figure this thing out? And do you remember what that
Oh,
first
God,
12 months was like?
First year was horrible. So I was licensed in March, and then so that that 9 months for that year in 2019, I made in commission $16,000, and that was not including expenses.
You were lighting the world on fire.
I was sitting there and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just winging it. I was like, okay, like
Were you on a team, or you were just on your own?
No. So when I first started for 3 months, I was on a team, but not really. It was just me and one other person. She
Okay.
was like my mentor, and it was such a bad experience.
Okay.
It was such a bad experience. I literally left out 3 months of it, and I just couldn't. That was a deal breaker for me. So.
Sure. It's funny because we have a lot of people on the show, and a lot of times it comes up that finding the right mentor or finding the right team when they're
It's
new
everything.
is really important, right? To be able to get them
Absolutely.
off to a good start. Because, I mean, unless you have a ton of background in maybe sales or 1099 or commission-only type jobs, which not a lot of people do if they first get into real estate, it can be really hard to make that transition in year
Absolutely.
one. And that sounds like, was this your first experience with like commission only and building this type of business?
Yeah, I mean, while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was like serving at like restaurants and stuff. So I think that's where my customer service comes from. But like, even with serving, I mean, you're not making like a ton of money, but at least like you can go and you can make some money and
Yeah.
have that money. Whereas in real estate, you could be 6 months in and not even have a single commission
Right,
check. So,
right.
but I think you're definitely right. It's all about who you meet. It's all about like. I'm a firm believer that there is a right brokerage for everyone. You know, like everyone functions completely differently. And for me, like since I found Agile, I mean, that's when everything skyrocketed for me. And I think it was just because I had that support from management, our office staff. Like in my opinion, it's unparalleled to anything that I was used to.
Matt and the crew over there?
Yeah, I love Matt, Nick, Jeff, Ivy. Like our office manager is amazing. Anthony, Allie, like they are seriously.
Shout out to the whole gang out there with
Yeah,
Agile.
shout out to them. They are seriously. I mean, they're the best team anyone could have.
Very cool. And just so you guys know, we're Cezanne this past year, 2024, which just finished. Obviously, did over 20 million, over 23 million in volume, close to 40 transactions last year. It's a really solid year. That's not a team number. That's your own volume, right? For the year. And so now that you have been in the business 5 years, right? Has the business evolved where you've seen kind of just consistent growth every year, or was it kind of a struggle until you made that connection with Agile, and then that's when things really popped?
I felt like I was doing okay before Agile. I mean, I was at my previous brokerage for like a little over 4 years.
Okay.
But that was pretty much mostly like self-taught. I knew one other person at that brokerage that tremendously helped me, and she was amazing. And she was the kind of person that was like just kept me motivated and kind of was always there to be helpful. So I definitely appreciate that, and I definitely want to credit her for a lot of my growth as well. I feel like when I switched over, the biggest difference was just honestly like my family dynamics. It was like, okay, now I have 3 kids to support.
Yeah.
You know, it went from just me being pregnant with number 1 to now 3, and wanting to make sure that that all 3 of them had a good childhood, a good growing up experience. I
Sure.
feel like my childhood wasn't necessarily the easiest, only because my parents worked, crazy hours to just support us because, we didn't come from money or anything like
Right.
that. And same thing with my husband. My husband has a wonderful work ethic because he did not come from money or anything like that. So everything that he had when I met him is 100% his work, blood, sweat, and tears that he was able to accomplish.
Yep.
And then together we're just trying to, continue that growth, but hopefully just set up our kids where they could hopefully have an easier life in the future.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, and that could be a strong motivation for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We tend to work a lot harder for others than we do just for our own purposes and passions, right?
Absolutely.
What's your husband do for work?
He actually switched careers, and for the past 3 years, he has been a licensed home inspector.
Oh, wow.
So it is really
That complements
nice.
well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really great because I know like a lot of people are like, well, no one wants to work with their spouse, and it's kind of great because he's not in real estate. Like
Sure.
he's not a realtor selling homes
Yeah.
with me. So
He's a supporting
I have
vendor,
my
basically.
niche, and he has his, like he helps me with everything. So
Sure.
half of the reason why I was able to
Does he have his own company, own home inspection company?
No, he actually works for Paramount Home Inspectors.
Okay.
And I like
I
the
know Dale
owner-
in the gang.
Yeah, Dale. I mean, they're like
They're partners
so
with us
awesome.
with Real Producers.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I did. I remember seeing them in the magazines and everything, and they're so awesome and they're so knowledgeable. So it's really great. I actually have to reach out to him for a home inspection on one of my clients that needs one. I
Mm-hmm.
can't use my husband. I don't want that conflict of interest, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice way to be able to work with each other and but still not step on each other's toes.
Yeah, for sure. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What do you think played a big role, Cezanne, in just your business success in those as it's evolved? So, like, you didn't know anybody here. You said it wasn't like you had a network that you can tap into to be able to get leads and start building your business. So, what worked for you as far as like actually getting clients and has consistently worked
Facebook.
over the years? Really?
Facebook. Everyone always asks me this question. I laugh about it because a lot of people think that we're like paying for leads or doing anything. And honestly, I don't get many leads of anything of any sort. I don't pay for anything. I'm this year I am branching out. I'm trying to see if there is something else that I could like kind of tap into. But my biggest reason for success, I think, is just being on Facebook.
Nice.
I like to say
Like
that
creating organic content?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
just being a kind of like an open book. I feel like the only way we can really have a smooth and easy transaction is when my clients do trust me and do feel comfortable. Like I tell them, like, call me at 1 a.m. I will most likely be awake. I get most of my work done in the middle of the night when my kids are sleeping. So I feel just, growing that organically and now getting to the point where I've been in the business 5.5 years. Now I'm starting to get, those repeat clients or the clients that are just, recommending me and things like that. Whereas before, when I first started, it was just trying to find clients everywhere that I could and,
Sure.
and going all over the place. I know Josh does that. Like he's like he calls
Yeah, he
himself a
travels.
road
We were
royal.
talking about that. Yeah.
And that was great because
A lot of his leads seem to be fueled through the brokerage as well, through
I think
Agile.
his team specifically, he's on the, I think it's the Apex team.
Yeah.
So
He
I know
is.
that team is awesome, and he's like, he's gonna surpass me. I know I watched his, and you guys were talking about me. He's gonna surpass me easily. He's got the motivation. He's
a worker.
Yeah.
Seems like he's ready to grind it out. And
Absolutely.
so, the challenge is there, Cezanne. He's throwing it. He's smacking down the challenge. We'll see what happens.
We have I love it being at my office. So one of the main reasons why I actually switched is, like I said before, I felt like I was doing enough to pay the bills and stay afloat and be comfortable and still have time with my kids. So the main reason why I actually switched and went to Agile is I really wanted that more tight-knit brokerage feel. Like, I love the fact that we have an office, like a brick and mortar office. I can actually go in there and say hi to the office and drop off gifts and just say thank you for all of your help and thank you for your,
Sure.
continued support and just little things like that. Being
Yep.
able to just call my broker and be like, hey, I have a question. Can you help me? That for me was like one of the biggest reasons.
Is
why
Matt your go-to? He's your broker, right?
Nick is our broker,
Nick is,
and
okay.
I mean Matt is basically like kind of our broker too. So I love the dynamic that they have because it's like the three owners, Nick, Matt, and Jeff, and all three of them are very good at their own little niche. So, like for anything law and contract related, I'm calling Nick and I'm getting that info. For anything where it's like, hey, it's communication and other, office dynamics or working with other realtors, I'll call Matt. So it's such a perfect way how they kind of grouped it together because like those three together, it's like a dynamic duo, or trio.
Yeah, it makes sense. I want to go back to some of your Facebook stuff that you mentioned a little bit earlier. And so when you were building that brand, right? And it sounded like you were just kind of like living your life through social media in a way, and
Yep.
being authentic and letting people in as to whether that includes your family or things that you were doing there personally, but also from a business side. So was there any strategy behind like things that you were sharing on Facebook that were designed to help grow the business specifically?
Well, so here's the thing. I don't think anyone on social media, like any of like friends of mine on Facebook, realistically, they have their own lives. They have their own family. They have their own jobs.
Yeah.
No one cares how much I'm selling. Like, let's be real. Like, no one cares. So I didn't want to be the person that just posted new listing, hire me, do this, do that. So I tried to kind of just incorporate the fact that I am a realtor in like regular life. So, you know, like when I was at Publix, like I would go to Publix, and when I did have a new listing, I would call it Flower Day. Like I would do fresh flowers at every listing, and I would just take a picture of the flowers, and I would have my kids with me all the time. The first three and a half years of real estate, I had my kids with me. They would be at all my showings. Thank God, like my first child was so easy. I took her with me for the first 2.5 years of her life. She came to every single appointment with me.
Wow.
For the things that she couldn't come with me, I'm so grateful for my best friends. They were the only ones that ever watched my daughter when she was growing up. I didn't have the money to put her in daycare at the time, so it was just kind of like the grind of, okay, is my friend able to watch her? And I love you, Elise. Thank you so much. Is my friend able to watch her?
It's great to have that support.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
It's those friendships.
So I was going to ask
really...
you about that, the balance with having 3 little kids and.
Oh, there is no balance.
Yeah, right.
There is no balance.
Being successful as an agent, that's not the easiest thing to do. Your husband's obviously also working, it sounds like. So like that in and of itself is a challenge, right? Just finding that.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work? And you mentioned the support from your friends. I guess that plays a big role.
Yeah, I mean, my best friend, honestly, if it wasn't for her, I really do have to attribute so much of my growth to her, because just having her stepping up and being like, you know, my kids call her auntie. You know, that's not just it's not just a friendship. That's my family.
That's awesome.
So
does your mom live around here?
She does, but
Okay.
my mom's busy, and she's about, you know, almost an hour away. So she works full time. She's a business owner. She's the same thing. She's
Real estate
grinding
still, or other things?
honestly, a mix of everything. So, but yeah, a part of it with real estate. So she is the I'll help her in that aspect of it. So that's great. But other than that, it's a little bit of everything, which is kind of cool.
Gotcha. Okay. And so this last year, when you did your 40 transactions, what percentage of that was just repeat business from existing clients compared to new business that you're aware of?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Do you feel like it was mostly repeat or vice versa?
I think I have a lot of new clients, but I think a good portion of them were referrals from past clients. I feel like now that the market has changed so much, you know, I didn't have like a extravagant amount of repeat clients, but I have those repeat clients that are still getting me in touch with their friends and family members. Sure. I think just yesterday I was driving, and I had a client that I helped about 2.5 years ago, and she goes, "Hey, my parents are ready to move up here. I need your help helping, you know, finding them a house."
Yeah.
So it's nice. I think it's I don't know, it's everyone's dream to kind of like be in this situation. So I'm very thankful to be in this situation.
Is there anything you do intentionally to just stay top of mind to those existing clients? Has that been an intentional strategy at all for you?
I don't think it's intentional. I think a lot of my clients I've just gotten to know so well
during the process.
Yes. So I mean, so I do have one repeat client. It was one of the very first people that I helped I think it was my first or second year, and they're finally ready to upsize because they have a growing family. So I think it just happens kind of organically. Like I said, I'm pretty much an open book on Facebook, and I like to touch base with people. If they, for whatever reason, do pop into my mind that day, I think about them. And then if they pop them again, I was like, let me just go and just, you know, send them a text message. Like, hey, how are you guys? Miss you.
Yeah.
Hope everything's well, you know, things like that.
Well, it's a relationship business, right? We know
Absolutely.
that. Every top agent that I've ever interviewed has some component of heavy on referrals and has built their brand. And many of them do other things maybe as well, or had to do other things to get that going. It's, I think, unusual for agents to do high volume that's 100% organic, right?
Yeah.
Usually there's some help with that. But I think if you can build your brand that way, that's focused on organic growth, it's a fun business to be in, right? Because it really is a
Absolutely.
relationship-driven
Yeah.
model that has seemed to work, obviously, for you. Do you still get business or do a lot of your stuff via Facebook or social media?
Literally still most of it.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know. I think it's just I've branded myself really well within my community. I think my hashtag on Instagram is Wolf of Wesley Chapel. So, back in the day when I started, I would go everywhere, and now I really try to stay in that little range of Wesley Chapel, Lando Lakes, New Tampa area.
Yep.
And I love that because, the shorter distance I can drive, the quicker I can get to my next appointment and help more families and then get back home and see my family,
Exactly.
So it is nice. Anything kind of like too far away at that now, I kind of just refer unless it is a repeat client or a repeat client referral.
Okay.
So like we'll go out to St. Pete, but it's typically only on a referral basis.
Okay.
So things like that.
Are you big with like open houses or other forms of strategies, or not really?
I think open houses are great and they work for so many people. For me personally, they actually don't work for me in the aspect of getting buyers. I think more than 65, I think 70% of my business last year was all listings.
Okay.
So I do one open house and I give my clients the option. I tell them the pros and cons of those open house, in my opinion, of what they are, and then I let them decide, would you like an open house? And I typically do one open house. I do it opening weekend.
Yep.
And 90% of the time, I'm pretty successful with getting those houses under contract within less than a month. So I only ever do that one
Nice.
open house.
Nice.
So that's my strategy on that. I have my own pros and cons of what I think it does. And
You prefer to be a listing agent? Most do, but I figured I'd ask.
I know that's like everyone says
Some
that,
don't.
and I love.
Every now and again, I'll have an agent who's like just seems to still love the process of helping buyers. So.
I do. Like honestly, I wish I had more buyers because I really do love the process. Like for me, I get like. I think it's so funny when clients come up to me and they apologize. I'm really sorry because I'm so picky. And I look at them, I'm like, no one is pickier than me, so do not apologize. I love the whole house hunting process. I love seeing like the way people's eyes light up. I love it when they look at a home and they can envision their family. They can envision so many new things because at the end of the day, I feel like whether you're upsizing or downsizing, it's a representation of everything that you've accomplished in life up to that point.
Sure.
So I feel like it's not just a home. Like it really is like a stamp of, wow, I was able to do this and this was my hard work.
Yeah.
And I love being a part of that journey. It's just so fun. So whether it is selling
That's
or
a cool way to
buying,
look at it.
I love doing it, but I think I do so many listings, which is great. I wish I did have more buyers because I love being able to go into neighborhoods and again tell my clients like the pros and cons of everything and make sure that they're just properly educated and making the best decision for their families.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you felt like the most fulfilling part of the business you have now is, and you might have just touched on it, is just that element of helping them see that it isn't just buying a home, right? It is all of the emotional components that also play a role in that. And I think in any successful business, you really have to have some sort of intrinsic emotional attachment to the end result rather than just a commission check, because that usually will fizzle itself out, right? But if there's a bigger purpose behind it, that's usually how people thrive, right? In those particular industries. So do you miss not going down the nursing route at all, or you feel pretty good about real estate now?
I mean, I love real estate. I love the flexibility. Everyone talks about the flexibility, but let's be real. Like we work 60 to 70 hours a week.
Sure.
I typically don't go to bed until if I get to bed before midnight, that's woohoo.
Well, so you're working evenings when the kids are in bed and all that jazz.
Oh yeah. I love it when my husband is available so he can drive me and I can literally work while we're driving. So, just trying to maximize the 24 hours in the day because there's only 24 hours in the day. So we can only do what we can do. But
yeah, no doubt. Where does the future take you? What do you get excited about when you think about 2025, next year going beyond? Do you have a vision for where you see the business going? Do you want to have your own team one day? Does that not interest you? What are your thoughts?
I have so many agents at our office asking me, when are you doing a team? When are you doing a team? And I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I feel like that I have a lot of respect for our team leaders and anywhere, like whichever brokerage, because it really is. I see how much time and effort and passion that they
Yeah.
put into
It's a
it.
totally different business once you go down that
It
road.
is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think in the grand scheme of things, it would be great in the future for me. I just don't know timeline wise. I think I have to let go a lot of stuff because I am very type A when it comes to my paperwork and my listings. And I don't know.
Do you have people helping you now?
I have an amazing.
The brokerage provides some support too in the back end, don't they?
They definitely do.
Yeah.
I did hire like my own transaction coordinator, and she's amazing.
Cool.
Literally, I mean, I've used one before, and she like the one I have right now is amazing. If I could like just clone her and take her with me everywhere, because I know she has her own family and everything, but
Yeah.
I'm like, can you just stay with me for the rest of my life? She's amazing. She's definitely one of the reasons why I've been able to, do the business that I did last year.
How'd you find her?
Actually was a referral from one of our office realtors. They
Oh, wow.
use her as well.
Okay.
And I was like, I was shopping around and they're like, you really need a TC. Like, you're too busy to not have one. And I said, well, I did have one and she moved and it wasn't the best situation. Like, it wasn't like, I found value, but it wasn't what my TC does for me now.
Right.
Like, my TC is amazing. Love you.
Yeah, it's a huge role. I think that's come up a lot too in a lot of the conversations we've had is having the right support people around you, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you're trying to free up your time from some of the busy stuff so you can focus on revenue generating activity. Having TC is usually one of those first things that
Yeah.
play a big role in making that happen. So finding a good one, you got to treat that relationship like gold, right? Keep it around as long as you
Absolutely.
possibly can.
I try to keep everyone that I really value, like our title girls, our office staff, my TC. I try to keep everyone as happy as possible because at the end of the day, like, they need to know that they are appreciated because their jobs are hard and they have to keep up with not only like me, but like other agents as well. Like, they have to
Totally.
keep up with so much more that we probably aren't even, linked into. Like, we don't know what they have to do daily, but I know what I give her daily and it's a lot. And then knowing that, she has other clients and everything, like, it's a lot. So I think it's, keeping those relationships, making sure that they're happy, making sure that you show appreciation to the people around you. I believe that in all aspects of life,
No doubt.
whether it's your family, your friends. I think it's very important. And sometimes we do, like me, I'm so guilty of it. I'm so guilty, like this past year, of just working so much and not being the best friend, wife, mother, person, anything that I can be. I feel like there's always room to grow.
Sure.
We can always do better in every aspect of life.
Well, I want to talk about that too a little bit on the personal side for people to get to know you more. One quick question though about business, I guess, or this could be business or personal.
Okay.
What's your most important goal for 2025? Something you're going after?
No. So it's not something I'm going after. It's in a numbers aspect. My goal every year is just to do better than I did the year before.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Good goal
I
to have.
feel like
Keep improvement.
there's always friendly competition, and people will think it's funny. I'm actually not a competitive person. So the way I think of it is my only competition is myself. So if I can do better than what I did last year, then that would be my goal. If I had to kind of put it in a more grand scheme of things, it would be my time management. I want to manage my time better, and I've done a lot of that this past year. I've actually said no to about 6 listings, whatever the dynamic and circumstances were.
Too far away or something?
No, it's a little bit deeper than that. I would say, like, if it's just not the right fit. Like, I feel like, yes, we're interviewing, but at the same time, like, we also have to interview our clients, because if it doesn't make sense, and at the end of the day, my reputation is everything. So I don't want to take on a client where I don't even feel like it's the right.
You can serve them at your level.
Yes, yeah. If it's not the right relationship, and I feel like I see red flags moving forward, then there's business out there for everyone. So
I get it. No, I think that's a very mature view too of your business. Some agents are so desperate they'll take whoever is willing to maybe work with them.
And that's what Matt and Nick tell me all the time. They're like, it's really great because you don't have to take whoever. You can
Right.
actually select who you want to work with.
Totally.
So I do like that. I think I could have probably sold more, but at the same time, it's money. At the end of the day, like, money is important. Like, we all know, everyone has bills to pay. Like, let's
Yep.
be real. But not all money is good money. And that's what I tell people when they really ask me my advice. I said, not all money is good money. Don't put yourself in a situation where you already know, like, it's not going to be a good fit. And at the end of the day, you don't want that bad review or want that, on your conscience
Totally.
or anything like that. It's just,
Yeah, no doubt. It's a smart way to think about it. I think a very mature viewpoint, from how to be a successful agent in general. Plus, it adds it gives you a certain level of prestige in your role as well, so that people know that you have certain standards that you want to uphold in terms of your levels of service and the type of client that you want to serve.
Yes.
So it makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, that whole philosophy. So again, for people to get to know you a little bit more, I know we talked a little bit about your background a little bit earlier. I think you did mention that you did or go back to Iraq when you were a teenager, or 14 years old, or
I went back, I think, when I was 12, and I went back again when I was 17. So
you still have a lot of family over there, it sounds like,
literally
right?
all of my family.
Yep.
The only people that we have here is my dad in Georgia and my mom in Florida. Other than that, like, everyone is back there.
So with all these like war years that they've gone through, like,
Mm-hmm.
is there what's been the effect, if any, on your family, on you? Have you had any
yeah,
communication
absolutely.
with them over there, what they've gone through?
Yeah, I mean, during that last war, I mean, one of my cousins, Shahed, she did come to the United States when she was being fitted for a prosthesis, but she was involved in, one of the bombings when Baghdad was being bombed, and she ended up losing her leg, I think, at the age of 4 years old.
Wow.
So it's definitely, I think when I was growing, like, even in middle school and high school, to be honest, I feel like our minds are just not even fully, obviously we're not developed at that age.
Sure.
So I knew that there was stuff going on, but I didn't really realize how much it would impact me as I got older. And to be honest, I don't think I even realized it as I got older until I actually started having kids. So I feel like the person who I was 5 years ago, actually even the person who I was a year or 2 years ago, is completely different than who I am right now. The number one reason is because of my kids. Like, now when I'm looking at what is happening in the world, my main goal is to make sure that my children hopefully don't have to grow up in that type of world. So I think everything, people, like, we're always evolving, so we're always changing. And yeah, I mean, I did not realize how much of an impact it would be on me growing up here, having family there. Like, I always considered myself, yes, I'm an Iraqi American, but I'm very, I mean, my husband's American,
Sure.
I don't wear a hijab. It's not one of those situations where it's like, I don't know, it's hard to kind of explain, because I have
Do
always.
you feel like, from your perspective, the attitude or culture over there in terms of how they view America, do you feel like the biggest concern was like ISIS and everything that was happening as that was growing in that area, or was it more of like the American involvement, where it was like that was the bigger fear? What do you think was the actual opinion of the people who lived out there, if you even know from people?
I don't know if anyone's going to like my answer,
I
but
think
I
it's fair.
really do think that it is American involvement.
So they'd rather have not even
And-
be involved.
And it's one of those things.
And I'm sure it's not the case for everybody, but I understand.
Yeah. It's not like one of my friends who is also Middle Eastern has said, I love our country, but I hate our government. And I think that's the issue. Regardless of who's in office, to be honest, I don't think anyone is really equipped, because everyone has their own flaws. And at the end of the day, there is no reason for us to continue wars. Like, I am very anti-war. At the end of the day, I feel like there's so many issues that we have in our own country that we need to address
Totally.
before we're literally sticking our nose everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I've
That doesn't
never
concern
had,
us.
I mean, I've been blessed in the fact that I've never had to grow up in a war-torn country, right? Or a war-torn situation. So I can't obviously relate to what that would be like, right, for anybody who did. And I know that you didn't necessarily grow up in there personally, but I'm sure you have family, you have people that you know who have.
Absolutely.
And so the experience must be horrifying, and like the thought process of like, there's got to be a thought of who's to blame for this, right? Like I would
Corrupt
want to.
politicians literally is like,
Right?
am I number one on the list? Like, yeah, you're right. Who is
Yeah.
to blame? Because
Right.
I feel like
Because you feel like you're innocent, you're just
Yeah.
dealing with this craziness around you, and it's like, who's the real reason behind all this nonsense?
when I see, like, on social media, like when I see just posts pop up, and it's literally U.S. politicians that are talking about our Muslim problem and talking about people, not even from the Middle East, but people from any other country, as if they are like subhuman, that's a problem. I feel like regardless of status or anything, like, I have a lot of clients that come to me and they're like, oh, well, will you take our listing because we see you doing a lot of like 1 million+ homes? And I was like, there is no like cutoff. Like, I will help people if it's just the right situation for us. Like if it's a good relationship, if I feel good moving forward. I have literally two of the listings that I passed up this past year were both houses that were in the $900 million range because it just wasn't a good fit. So I feel like that's our biggest problem. As soon as everyone realizes that regardless of where you are from, what you believe in, what your skin color is, what your background is, how much money you make, as soon as everyone puts that aside and just realizes that we all bleed red, and hopefully we all just want a better future, regardless of if you have children or not, you just want a better future in general, then we can just compromise on so many things and move past so many things. But I feel like people just look at the differences. Everyone just wants to point out differences instead of similarities. And I feel like once we actually do point out similarities, then you would be surprised as to how similar we are and how we can actually find common ground and work towards a better future. So my TED Talk of the day.
I appreciate your thoughts for sure. And one of my, and I asked some of it, one of my best friends is a gentleman who grew up in Pakistan. And so his story is completely foreign to like my story or people that like I really known for a lot. So I always find it educational to just learn from his perspective and
it's
what.
So great.
And he's got most of his family still over there, but many of them are now here. And he's been very, very successful here in the States. He's like a CEO now, runs a couple companies, and does very well. But he never forgets what that was like, right? What the roots were like over there. So I just find it. I couldn't agree with you more. Like it is really about. There's more that we have in common than we do, in separate for sure.
I think it's also just understanding like what you said earlier, that you don't necessarily know how you would feel if you had family or anything, like any type of involvement with that. So I have that conversation with my husband because he's American. He's born and raised in Tampa Bay. And, we've had that discussion before where he's like, I don't know how you're feeling because certain things are going to affect you differently, not only as a woman and as a mom, but just from having that different background. We're two different cultures, like two very different people that are, raising a family together.
Totally.
So it's just about just having that just respect. He'll just tell me, I would have meltdowns this past year with everything going on in the world and just looking at my children and looking at what's happening overseas and just breaking down and crying. And I'm like, how is this happening? Like, how are we a civilized nation? It's 2024, it's 2025, and these things are still happening and it's affecting children, like the most innocent things in the world. And we can't find common ground where it affects children. That's the part that is
the heartbreaking part.
It is. It's heartbreaking because they could have been lucky enough. My kids are lucky enough that they were born here. I was lucky enough to come here. But that doesn't give anyone reason to devalue anyone else's life just because they don't live in the United States.
No, of course not. Totally. Well, I appreciate you sharing, and hope that it's cool to just hear different perspectives. I think you're the first person. Maybe Rob, you can correct me. I don't think we've had anybody else from Iraq on the show. Right, so you're the first. Hopefully not the last, but you are the first. And I wanted to ask you a couple quick, as we run out of time here, what I would call rapid fire questions. Ready?
Okay.
So,
oh boy. Okay.
Do you have a favorite book, author, seminar that you've attended or read that you feel like has made a huge impact on you, personally or professionally?
To be completely honest with you, I am not a big book reader. I read like little articles and stuff all the time. I have a million.
It could be a podcast or even a seminar that you've gone to.
So the Laws of Attraction. Like that actual book, it's so good, and I try to practice that every day. Like I give myself little pep talks. I give myself a pep talk literally like the whole morning. I'm like, you're not gonna throw up. You're gonna be fine. You're totally gonna be fine. But the Laws of Attraction and just putting out there, like it just teaches you like put out there what you expect, and that honestly, I know it sounds silly, but that book was amazing for me. Like The Secret and everything. Like those are amazing because
managing your energy.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how it is. It's like when I walk into a room, I want people to feel happy. Like I want my energy to radiate. And then same thing if I meet a client and the energy's not there or the energy's off, I'm like, okay, well, like maybe it's not the right relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that is very important because I think everything is perspective. I think everything is, I threw myself a pity party the other day on Facebook. I was just so slammed with work and I was like literally sitting in my office getting ready to cry. And then for a split second, I remembered, what if I don't get this paperwork done tonight? What if I don't do this? And at the end, I'm like, my kids are still going to wake up happy. We're still going to have money in the bank. There's still food in the refrigerator, and no one is sick, and no one is in that situation.
Right.
And then I realized I was like, okay, snap out of it. I said, everything is fine. And then literally, it just took that split second of grounding myself and realizing there is not anything that is in front of me right now that I cannot handle, that I cannot get through, and I just need to take a deep breath and just keep chugging away.
Totally.
And when I did that, it was fine. So I do believe that those books are very, very important because it tells you that that we are in control, that we really are. Well, for the most part.
As much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
No, I could never.
Who's got the time for that nonsense? Right?
No. I love movies and I love TV, but like I just can't. I would never be able to.
Can't pick one.
I watch so many things. So.
Do you have a favorite food? Do you like to cook? Is
love
there
cooking.
Iraqi cuisine such
There
a thing?
is. There is. I love cooking. It's actually funny. I'm like one of the youngest in all of my friends groups, and I'm like the only one that cooks. Mm-hmm. So everyone comes over to our house, and I love. I think it's like a Middle Eastern.
What's like a
thing, too.
special dish that is from Iraq or something?
So there's a dish called biryani.
Okay.
And I love that. It's one of my favorite things growing up. My husband loves it. My mom makes the best biryani, and I've been trying to like perfect. Like, there's no recipes. There's no like measurements.
Yeah.
It's literally just knowing what to throw in there.
It's all gut, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard. And I was 99% close to making it like an exact replica of what she made. So I was
Wow.
pretty happy with that. But it's like a rice.
Is that one of those things where it's like so close yet so far?
No, I was
You were
really
there.
impressed. I
All
was
right.
like, oh my God, like. I was like running around the house like clapping because I was so happy I got so close to it.
I
made
do
it one.
love like Lebanese food. Like I
Yeah.
love going to some of those restaurants and just the Mediterranean diet and whatnot. I love that, but I don't think I've ever had anything I think of that's like specifically an Iraqi dish or something in that from that particular region.
Yeah, no, I love it. I cook a lot for like holidays and stuff. I make like a big prime rib roast, so I'm like an expert at that. Everyone
There
loves
you go.
that. But I a lot of the cuisine that I make like when I host is actually all just traditional American cuisine.
Gotcha.
And then, if someone like requests it, if my husband or
So
like
boring.
friends, I know my friends love all of that. And it's funny, like my favorite food is literally Italian food.
Yes.
I'm like, give me all the
That's
pastas
big in our
and
family too.
everything.
My wife is half Italian, so
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that.
So that's my husband. He's half Italian as well. And
There we go.
I just love it. So
All right, we're gonna have to put a bow on the episode, but I got a last question for you, which is when that day does come and you're sitting on that rocking chair many years from now, and you're thinking back to what you'd want to be most remembered for, what type of legacy would mean the most to you. What do you think stands out to you as far as what you'd want to be most remembered for? What's most important?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but if I pass away or if something happens, when my kids look back, they're not going to look back and be like, my mom sold 30 million in real estate and she was known as the wolf of, like, my kids aren't going to, like, they're not going to care about that. So I want them to just look back and say, wow, my mom was a badass. Am I allowed to say that?
Sure.
Okay. I was like, my mom was awesome.
We're not
it's
FHA, we're FDA.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter here, yes.
I want them to look back and just be proud. Like, she worked her butt off to give us the best life possible. And then just, know that, that I just tried my best. Like, honestly, I want to be known for being a kind person. I want to be known for, advocating for people that are less fortunate. I want to be known for all of the good qualities that make me a human and not my sales.
Yeah.
That's just like the cherry on top. I was #1 agent at my office this year, and I probably won't be next year or the year
Boom.
before.
The challenge is thrown out there.
Yeah.
2025. Let's go. Is Shazan's going to have another year #1, or is someone going to take her down from Agile? We will find out.
We will find out, yeah.
We will find out. It was great to have you on the show. I'm glad that we got a chance to finally meet and dive in a little bit deeper to your story and learn about what makes you tick. And I could definitely say that you are a badass, and that's for sure. So you've been
I
keeping up.
appreciate that.
You've been keeping up the volume, and even just more importantly, a great person from what I can tell from our conversation. So
Well, thank
excited to have you more involved maybe this year with events and other things that we have going on.
That would be awesome. Again, that was my goal, is time management. I can actually put some more time away from me and go to these events and do more things that,
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to put a bow on the episode with a challenge to the audience, the way we always do. What's one takeaway that you can grab from our conversation today with Shazan that you think can help propel you forward personally or professionally? So if you took the time to listen to this on any of the 15 plus podcast platforms or on the YouTube channel, there's always at least a nugget, right? One thing that you can grab that's going to make sure that the time you invested wasn't just wasted. You're going to forget a lot of the conversation as your day gets busy, but write write down one thing that could be some of her tips about Facebook and how she started building that social media following, or finding the right team, or making sure that I don't know, maybe it's even the Iraqi special cuisine that she made. Maybe you want to learn how to make that yourself. But whatever it might be, what's one thing that you think can help propel you forward from our conversation? And if you can focus on that, then obviously the time you invested was worth it. Check us out at topproducersnation.com if you want to learn more about how to become a top producer in your desired market. All of our resources and so forth are there as well. And we'll see you on the next episode of Top Producers Nation podcast. See you later.